The Cinema Rediscovered Film Festival 2022 brought together 3 very different films by black filmmakers of the 1980s. Melanie Shabazz's Burning an Illusion, Julie Dash's short film Illusions, and Wendell B. Harris's Chameleon Street. Each portray black characters embodying precarious states of inauthenticity, performativity or deceit in pursuit of upward mobility or the comforts of normativity. Burning an Illusion positions Londoner Pat's pursuit of respectable bourgeois femininity as a false consciousness.
I was 22, not doing too bad. I had my own flat, a steady job, but that wasn't enough. I wanted to settle down.
Illusions Mignon passes for white while working at a Hollywood studio in the 1940s, producing wartime propaganda films, maintaining her own illusion. Chameleon Street's Douglas Street feels compelled to perform various personae to scam his way up the ladder of Reagan's America and to sate his own boredom and frustration.
This is boring!
The films engage with blackness, performance and authenticity through 3 distinct genres. Burning an Illusion is a social realist film following a young woman's first relationship, leading to her political awakening. The narrative is punctuated by a mirror motif, through which it becomes apparent that Pat's sense of self, formed around respectability and femininity, is an ideology to be overcome. The film invests no optimism in Pat's pursuit of this lifestyle, but anchors her coming of age to a cultural reconnection, approved by her boyfriend Del.
Tell me like him.
Despite the discomfort it evokes, Shabazz refuses to discard Del for his abusive outbursts, or to dislocate them from societal pressures. Del is more vulnerable to the sharp end of, at best an indifferent, at worst a violent society. But it is Pat who is expected to change, in solidarity with her lover and her assailant. We cannot reasonably expect any comforting resolutions from British social realism. Illusions reflects on American cinema through a pastiche of 1940s Hollywood, alluding to a legacy of stories around whiteness and blackness, from the tragic mulatto melodramas to the brief post-war preoccupation with racial passing. Although Mignon's perspective and internal life frame the narrative, passing is a concept that centres the white gaze, both in its validation of whiteness and its judgment of moral transgression. Dash's pastiche doesn't subvert this, but rather reenacts it for a 1980s postmodern audience, disarmed through a familiar, seductive genre mode. Like Mignon, this film is posing as something it is not. Chameleon Street also invokes the racial passing tale in its dealings with identity and masquerade. We see a glimpse of the permissibility of Mischief in a scene in which Street is mediated through a television screen.
Street, you've certainly got a lot of moxie, and I hope things definitely work out.
Moxie?
Moxie.
What's that?
The obsession with the con artist trope acknowledges the inherent injustices of capitalism. Fantasies of transgression as a necessity are thus generated. But Street's deception is explicitly threatening to the social order, an unreliable narrator in a fractured narrative. He deceives for the sake of deception.
I think, therefore I scan.
Pat plays by the rules of bourgeois respectability and femininity, despite this offering her little protection from racial or domestic violence. Though she is not attempting to pass as white, she is positioned as alienated from an authentic relationship with blackness. While Mignon is able to secure a prestigious career through passing as a white woman, alienation and misrecognition are the costs. After she meets black singer Esther Jeter, she feels compelled to call up her mother, the black woman she has had to push away.
Listen, is Mother there? I just wanted to hear your voice.
Though perhaps naive and entranced by the Hollywood fantasy, Esther can at least live authentically.
Do you pretend when you're with him? Or can you just be yourself?
Both characters, in their own ways, uphold the illusions of white Hollywood. Mignon herself is an illusion. Frantz Fanon's Black Skin, White Masks provides a philosophical framework for a radical refusal of assimilation into white bourgeois normativity. Menelik Shabazz has cited Fanon as an influence on Burning an Illusion, which insists on its black protagonists reclaiming a lost culture, a gesture that feels over-earnest to modern viewers. Dichotomies of authenticity and inauthenticity, honesty and deceit, reality and illusion emerge when the narrative turns on the removal of these white masks. When Mignon's proximity to blackness is uncovered, she becomes visible and regains an authentic self-image, a reflection, denied to her in the vocal booth scene in which only white faces overlay Esther's. The film, hinging on this discovery, inadvertently reaffirms the power of the racist gaze, according to Hartman and Griffin. But in this final scene, Mignon is defiant, not broken, not remorseful. It is unclear if her story is destined to end in tragedy. 3 pivotal scenes mark Pat's complete unmasking: removing her makeup and jewellery in the final mirror scene of the film, being shot in a racially motivated drive-by, one of several times Pat's romantic illusions are disrupted by violence. The penultimate scene has her throwing away her romance novels. Street's unmasking only serves to reveal another persona. He expresses contentment only when in elaborate costume as the Beast.
I'm happy.
Chameleon Street seems to reject the notion of an authentic self, presenting Street's psychopathy as complementary to the social and economic pressures of his situation.
I think you believe in complementarity.
Okay.
Do you know what that means?
No.
That means you intuit what another person needs, and then you become that need.
In the wake of Thatcher-Reagan neoliberal rhetoric, the recommended response to inequality and scarcity of resources is individual self-improvement, aspiration, risk-taking.
From congressman to president.
The rhetoric of social mobility asks us all to pass, to emulate a lifestyle we cannot afford, to take on the risks of debt, gambling, self-aggrandizement, to live with the threat of humiliation and the indignity of being unmasked. Lauren Berlant's cruel optimism underlines how striving for the good life has become an occupation in itself, with waged work no longer providing for basic needs. Joe Littler's Against Meritocracy uncovers how the mere idea of a meritocratic society has shifted focus away from entrenched inequalities and onto individual pursuit of wealth and worth.
I wanted to get the money.
Make some money.
Man, we need some money.
For the money.
These films offer alternatives to the traditional upwardly mobile narrative trajectory often seen in dominant cinema. They actively mock and rebel against the performativity of white bourgeois normativity, which for black colonised peoples comes at too high a psychic cost. Through these ideas, Afro-pessimism is revealed as an answer to the cruel optimism of aspiration culture.